Thanks everybody for coming, big crowd. One thing I want to say before we start this meeting is apparently after review of the open meeting requirements, this will be a special meeting because there's no ordinance that says we will meet at a certain day at a certain time. So because it is a special meeting, we're going to be restricted to what we posted on the door in terms of topics. So I hate to do that to you, but I don't have a choice. We're going to have to just stay with the topics that we have on this agenda.
Do you have a copy of the agenda?
Yeah, what are the
They'll make
topics?
copies.
I can make.
Is
I'll be
there,
happy to
Jim,
do
hand here, I got
it.
it. Hand here, I'm right behind.
is there going to be an open televised meeting next week, next Wednesday?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
No,
No,
next
no.
Wednesday.
That's
Oh,
all
it
it
is
is.
next Wednesday. Holy
That's
man.
what I thought it was the last one.
Sorry, yeah. Next
It's
week.
confusing because most of the time,
Yeah, we're off a little
Now-
bit here.
Yeah, November and December, we're meeting the second Wednesday. It will be televised because the regular council meetings will be canceled because of the holidays.
Okay.
so November and December are going to be regular council meetings.
With the caucus.
During the caucus,
At
we're
the
going to
caucus.
address business as normal with the caucus because we will not have a meeting on a regular fourth. One of them, I think, falls on Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Christmas Eve
Something.
and Christmas.
No, Christmas Day and the day before Thanksgiving. That's what they are.
So you have a list of the topics?
He's
He's making
making it right now. The first thing on the list was review of the August financial statements, and I was hoping we could review August and September, but as you probably know, we didn't get September. So there's some sort of an issue. I don't know exactly what the issue is, but we don't have September financial statements yet. Obviously, everybody didn't get August financial statements unless you pull them off the website. And what I typically do, just for general consumption, is I will put out a list of questions that go to the mayor, to the committee, and hopefully those questions get answered. And I believe the mayor is representing the city to answer those questions tonight. So I will be going through, what I typically do is go through the balance sheet first, then the income statement, then the bills for payments, the cash disbursement registers, and finally the general ledger. So if you have questions or concerns about anything that happens, please say it, and we'll move on.
We're going to make copies of the balance sheet. Everybody.
The balance sheet's no good without the income statement. I mean, it's just, this is the packet that goes out. So if you're interested in it and you want to come to this meeting, I would recommend that you print it off the website or just review it on the website if that's what you prefer to do. It's just a lot of stuff to hand out, that's all. If you want to see it, you're certainly welcome to my copy. In general, Van Gorder Walker will have a draft of the audit report due very soon. John Chamberlain, the auditor, was here this evening to ask some questions about what was in that draft, and that will be, I have to research two things, and then we will get back to him, and we expect an audit report from the auditor in the November meeting. It won't be ready for next week, it'll be ready for November, so that's 3 weeks from last night. Okay, remaining questions from July. I'm really not sure I understand the whole Pepsi thing. We paid for Pepsi and put it in the villa, and I haven't seen any revenue for that yet. Do you know where that is?
Yes, it'll actually come in September and October. It was actually in the safe, and I asked the question, hey, didn't we have some revenue? Well, we just haven't taken all the change to the bank. It's like, you gotta put it in the bank, folks. So they ran it up, they made it the final deposit tonight, or today. The machines were emptied, everything was taken out. So you should see for September and October, there's been a couple deposits. And they will start doing that on a probably monthly basis. I don't think we need to do it every day or something like that, or maybe weekly. We'll see how the revenue comes in from it. It sounds like it's going to be about $250 over the 3 or 4 months.
So we're not gonna keep that vending machine open through the winter.
It's empty now.
It's empty.
It's cleaned out. All the money's cleaned out. All the materials are taken care of out of it and
Do
everything
they
else.
take it away?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't believe so.
But we do unload that machine occasionally, is that right?
Yes, we go. I haven't actually got a firm schedule. You know, I would say that from a standpoint of restocking it and emptying the money,
Who does that? Who takes the money?
Public Works does. And we'll do an audit. Once they actually get done, we'll find out exactly how many cases we started with, how many pieces we sold, dollars in, dollars out. There will be like an audit done of that over the next week or two probably.
Okay.
It's on my list of to-dos for have Craig do.
All right. Another carryover is restricted funds. This is for Mary's benefit. I wanted to confirm that we had $3,500 left over from KMA and $33,900 from the vehicle license fee. And John informed me this evening that the vehicle license fee is not restricted, it's committed.
Huh?
Okay.
What?
It means the same thing, but you have to use two different words.
Okay, so it's 3,500 and 33,000.
Hey, Mary, it's on the top of your page, right in the middle.
Thank you.
Now that is not spendable money, that has to be approved by council and
Yeah.
the budget amendment has to be processed.
But at least we can put it in at least know it's there to work through a budget process and count on that money.
Well,
Only if it's approved by council.
Yeah, I understand.
council approves it, you got it.
Okay.
Real quick, the difference is, I think it's important to tell them, KMA is committed by a state statute. We can only spend it restricted. We have the other monies, vehicle sticker fees, was restricted by council. That
Okay.
can be changed at any given time, whether
Okay.
you want a lynch mob or not, or how you do it. So the money's technically committed. It's not restricted in a sense, but it is restricted by the way we set it up, and we will always keep it that way,
Okay.
at least as far as I'm concerned.
Two words, same meaning.
Yep.
On the balance sheet, I only have one question. We're carrying a $48 balance in withholding accounts. Why would we do that?
I think it needs to, I'm not an accountant, so bear with me, Jim, on this. That $48 had to do with Joe Cruel's week or two in June when we flipped into
Hazardous?
hazardous. I'm not sure how it plays out. We owed a back of $48 because we had to go back for a week or so into June or something like that. That's exactly what it's for. If I looked at the balance, the financials, I'm not sure if that just needs to be credited on one side and debited on the other, you know what I mean? Or how that works, because I don't get the accounting quite part of it.
Well, all I'm suggesting is if we withheld that from Joe, we need to forward it to the CERS. So we need to look into that. I know it's only $48.
I think it was actually what he owed us, because if there's a difference in it now, because with two of our employees, since they were hired after, I forget the date, 2010, whatever it was, two of our employees, that means they have to kick in an extra % out of towards their retirement. Now Craig being new, you'd think he would do it, but he doesn't because he was already in prior to that date from his previous employer. That's the 1% that makes up for some reason for that week or two or whatever it amounted to. I can get a more definite answer probably out of Cordelia. I have not had a chance to, but I know what it's for.
So it's a city liability to the retirement fund, you think?
No, because we would have paid it already. If it was a liability already, we would have paid it.
It was reimbursement.
Reimbursement from Cruel, because we had to go back and pay it all, and he went,
But then it would be an asset, not a liability.
right, and I will find that out. I will get a determination for you.
I know it's only $48, but it bugs me.
No?
On the contracted services, the medical, did we have a change in medical from what we thought it was going to be in July, because it's changed from July to August?
That could have been when one of the officers left. I'm sure that's what it was. Now, did it go, you're thinking it went down, right?
Well, it's higher than the budget, which I don't understand.
Well, that's a good point, because it's going to be higher than the budget, because No, it shouldn't be, not yet. After January it might be, because of the fluctuation.
Yeah, I don't understand why it would go up. I mean, we knew what the amount was. I just want to make sure we're paying the right rates, that's all. You could just have them look, make sure, confirm those rates, make sure we're paying the right thing.
I was thinking it was decreased, increase rate over the change. When did that? No, I can't answer that now, but I'll find out. I was thinking it was the opposite, Jim, I'm sorry.
That's all right. On the contracted services, the attorney, civil service, what are we spending $2,000 on in August for civil service?
Legal fees in the courthouse, processing what's going on down there with the, waiting on the civil service deal, waiting on the judge. There was the stuff we talked about in executive session last week, that 2 different attorneys put together documents. I'm not sure how far I'm allowed to go.
Okay, well, we have to go back into closed session on that because I don't understand how we're spending money when nothing's happening. Code enforcement, what are we spending on code enforcement? Is that legal?
Yes, that's legal. Well, we're also spending it on Northern Kentucky area planning.
Right.
But $400, $300, I mean, the bill came in the other day, it was $264 for the month for Northern Kentucky area planning. That's October's bill or whatever. I would guess that, I thought it was like $350 or $400 for Northern Kentucky area planning, and the balance would have been legal.
But is our legal involvement over now since the county's doing it?
Just about. We had one big case, I think it's the Sun Globe case, that we were asked to wait to transfer until that one's finished, just because they were concerned about stopping in the middle of the legal process and trying to transfer it over to the different board. We've got our board over here that's almost ready to finish it up, and they thought it might be a challenge to try and take right at the end and put it on a new board and almost have to start that process over. I would say, and then really they're having a meeting next Tuesday. I think we're going to be able to do that after that.
But potentially we'll get that back because of the fines that get processed through code enforcement?
Unless they waive the fines, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It might get it back, you mean put a lien on the property and then maybe someday on the road, eventually get something back.
Yeah, I know it's a long shot. On Public Works, it looks like we spent $12,000 on Rigney Park.
That's correct, and that's where the money was budgeted.
It was, but that's all.
If you look at the miscellaneous item,
That was my only question. I just want to make sure it was there.
yep,
On the police, we spent half of our annual budget on overtime so far. What's the plan?
first of all, it should be on, it's all but gone, all but over with overtime. We shouldn't have but very, very little at this point. Now that we have the 6 full-time and 2 part-time, and we've got the ad for the other part-timer. A lot of that overtime was spent because we were down 2 officers. Even though the county was helping us, they were only helping us part of the way until we got the other 2 officers on board.
Have you seen September? Does that worn out with the September financial statements?
I haven't seen them yet, no.
Okay.
Maybe there's a couple small spikes in overtime for issues that we had in the community, the big one. I talked about it at the last council meeting, but.
That's actually all the questions I had on the balance sheet and income statement. Does anybody else have anything on that part of the financials? Kind of minor, but we get 2 reports on the restricted funds. One has the vehicle license fee and the other has, and the KMA. And then we get individual reports for those 2 things. I don't know if you use them, but they're wasted.
Don't, I mean, I just go to the master one.
I don't know why we have them. So,
I look at them and then wonder what
I don't
I'm
know.
getting confused for.
Maybe they have to because they're in departments, I don't know. But
And it might be something that just, it's the way it comes out printed out. We
That's
can
right.
pull them out before we Xerox them and send them to everybody too.
yeah, if she doesn't need them, on the bills for payment, we pay DBL for workers' comp. How are they involved in workers' comp?
what that had to do with was, when we had our 2 employees on workers' comp, we needed somebody to help us make sure that everything was, up to speed when we were doing it. DBL Law has a human resources specialist attorney, I mean, so we called them and said, hey, can we sit down for a few hours? We need to talk, want to make sure that we're doing this right, what are the expectations, because I don't think we've had a workers' comp case and probably 10 to 15 years, if not longer, and therefore we didn't have a policy or procedure in place, which is being worked on now. Matter of fact, I think Craig's already has that taken care of.
So are we represented by DBL for all workers' comp?
No. That was just a consultation to say, or to sit down and say,
Okay.
what paperwork, this and that, because our insurance company represents us. That was just to make sure that we internally are doing the right things in the right, order, because there's certain dates you have to send things out and all that, and I'm not familiar with it, but just to make sure that we were crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
And that's not available through KLC or somebody else who are paying dues to?
I honestly don't know, Jim, but I mean, I will ask.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been, putting the fire out at the time was
All right.
probably what drove that. I mean, I approved it, but it's a good point.
That's all I had on cash, or bills for payment, unless somebody else had something else. Cash disbursements, Northern Kentucky Area Planning, is our fee structure compatible with theirs now?
Yes,
So we won't be seeing that differential between our fee and their fee, and we have to pay it, right?
correct, and that's probably why the bill was only $260 this month.
All right. I had submitted a question about Stephen McMurtry, but then I remembered that he said it in council what that was about, so I'll withdraw that.
Got it?
On the general ledger, on the prepaids, what are we doing with capital software? I thought we were done with those guys.
It was, but when we paid it, before we had actually flipped upon them 100%, it was paid out for 3 months or something like that. We are done with capital software. But
So,
it's a prepay because it's $360 for 4 months, so it was probably put in there for the next 4 months.
okay, so it's 3 months at 120 each.
I would, yeah,
So we're
that's,
looking
yeah,
at July, August, September, and then I don't have to see those words anymore, capital software?
I hope not.
Thank you.
I pray not.
Okay, the Kroll thing, he's 1% because he's in a different class than the other guys? Is that-
Right, because of the, when he was hired.
Okay. Interest income was a total of $45.21. Did you ever look into that?
I honestly have not, Jim, to be honest with you. I can double
We
check.
gotta figure out what we're doing, because we got $800,000 in that bank, and $45.21 works out to 0.005%. Seems kinda low. And something's wrong. I don't know what
No,
it is, but something's wrong.
Yep.
New bank, maybe?
Hmm?
A new bank, maybe?
Nope. We haven't
Well,
switched
I don't know how many times we've got to switch banks before they finally start giving us the interest we earn, because that can't be right. Civil service, we got 2 attorneys in civil service.
That's correct.
Okay, we're paying for both sides, right?
The civil service commissioners
Right.
side, and yes, that's the difference.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other questions on August? I have August here if you want to look at it. This is all the reports we get, all the statements. The only question that I have that's outstanding is that $45 interest income. That doesn't look right. We got to get that fixed.
Have a minute to look at that?
But I think it's a pretty minor thing. So typically at this point, we ask the committee for a recommendation, and typically we ask to either accept the financials or reject them. I don't see any material reason to reject them, so if anybody does, let me know. Nope, okay. This is not a voting thing, we won't vote on it, but if somebody wants to object to them, then we'll bring that to council and let them make the decision. Okay, back to the agenda, which we have to stick to, please remember that. I put on here review requirements for proof of receipt regarding the open meetings. You were sent, if you're on the committee, you were sent a piece of paper that looks like this, that you have to sign and say you got the open meetings rules. So if you got that, I can collect it tonight and give them to Craig. If you didn't bring it tonight, please get that to Craig. Okay, that's part of it. You have to sign that you received the document.
That's a state-driven thing for the Attorney General.
Do we have any blank copies of that?
If we do, I can run up and, I can actually go print a couple off if anybody would be
I don't
interested.
remember seeing an attachment on there. I got the email basically saying, hey, this is because we need your email address, but I don't remember seeing an attachment on there.
Let me go up and get it. It should have been like a 20-page or 30-page, something like that. It just talks about open meetings,
It
open
was
meetings.
33
Pages.
You know, Mike got
The
the
one I
attachment.
sent, it wasn't
I had
attached to
not.
it because I didn't have it at the time. And then one came from the state, which I assumed they used all the email addresses we gave them. They didn't do that.
I got that email, it's like, you're getting this email because we have to send it to you. I'm like, okay, I just filed it. I didn't put an attachment on it.
Never realized that. I can get that for us, because I don't want you to sign something until you get it.
Well,
That'd be-
Mike, I'll just forward the email.
That'd be fine.
That has the attachment on it. So it'll just be blank down here. I won't make you use my name.
Okay.
You can either drop it off, scan it, email it, fax it, whatever, back to the city though, but if you can get those to us, it would be great.
Okay.
September financial statements are not ready. It's very unusual for them not to be ready by the 17th. Can you give us some direction on what's going on?
Several different things. If I'm understanding it correctly, this month Cordelia was also doing her fiscal year end for where she works during the day. So she's been working till like 9 o'clock at night every day there. We have also had a couple problems with the Experian debit cards, trying to get those cleared away, which we still have not received the receipts, although we were told they were supposed to be faxed or mailed. We sent 2 requests.
Is that the last month issue?
Yep.
But that shouldn't have any effect on September, right?
Right. No, it just didn't get posted and/or whatever direction given, at the time, so she didn't want to balance the checkbook without that being put in there. That was one of the things. There's like 4 things, 5 things that she'd asked for. And I think we have all of them taken care of.
Okay. And I'm gonna jump to item number 6, which is meeting dates. Is this too early for her? I mean, there's no reason.
I don't think so, Jim. I think it was just kind of an odd month. It just hit her at the wrong time. It was just a timing thing. According to what an email I saw, she sent another email replying, I don't know if you saw that or not, that said it was just a rough month. It normally would not be bad, but if you want to push it back further, it wouldn't hurt her feelings either. I mean, so if I remember something to that effect, is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's right. Well, the Thursday before the council meeting is really tough to put on your calendar because the council meeting shifts around. It's always the 4th Wednesday, but it could be the third Thursday, or it could be the 2nd Thursday, depending on how the calendar works. What would you guys think about moving these meetings to either Monday or Tuesday right before the council meeting? Do you have any thoughts one way or the other?
They used to be Monday before the council meeting, right?
Yeah, it was that way for years.
Yeah, so I'm fine with that. Or Tuesdays are now free too, the code enforcement boards go away, so I can make either or work. Preferably Monday for me.
Anybody else have a preference?
I have a rec meeting on Monday, the 4th Monday, so
At night?
at 6:30.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Tuesday's fine too.
Whatever.
Well, no, I mean, if Tuesday will work, we'll just move it to Tuesday. The Tuesday before the meeting, and are we gonna have an ordinance now?
That'll be drawn up. So Wednesday, we'll actually be able to fill in all the blanks and dates and times, and we'll just do that at the council meeting, yes. And then we'll pass the ordinance, post it, and
so it's just gonna be Tuesday before the council
The
meeting.
day
It's not
before the
gonna be
council
the
meeting.
4th Tuesday or anything, okay?
we can actually look at the ordinance for the council meetings and just mimic it and just put Tuesday instead of Wednesday on it.
We can't because the council meetings will say the 3rd Wednesday. This will not necessarily be the 3rd Tuesday.
Yeah,
get it.
because like Monday is actually the 3rd Monday, and normally it's the 4th Monday, but because of where the first fell on Wednesday.
Got it.
What time you gonna be?
6:30 if that works. But is it earlier better, later?
Not early.
Not really. 6:30 work?
That's fine.
All right, 6:30 on the day before the council meetings. We used to try to have a buffer in there so that if we had a change, they could make that change before the council, but that's not gonna happen realistically. If we have a change, it'll be worked into the next month, or we'll simply say we don't want to accept the financial statements. That'll work. Okay. Next thing is discussion of proposed ordinance to pay off the existing debt from the unrestricted surplus. In 2008, council borrowed $282,981.77 to fund this building, the police building, a cruiser, a dump truck,
And a Public Works edition.
yeah, Public Works Edition. And we've been paying on that debt $2,813.50 a month ever since then. There's been a proposal made to council that we pay off that debt out of surplus. As of November 1st, that debt will be $132,825.66 if we get it paid off on November 1st. So what they're talking about doing is taking that money out of surplus. There's been no discussion about what we do with the money that we don't have to pay between now and the end of the fiscal year, or now and the end of our terms, which would be 12/31/14. Whether we restrict that money, whether we put it in roads, whether we return it to surplus, there's been no discussion. If this was a private company, I would say, yeah, it makes sense to do that. We're earning next to nothing on what we've got in the bank, and we're paying the bank 3.615% at nominal rate for that money. So it's really kind of silly to leave 800 grand in the bank earning nothing. That's my opinion. I'm bringing it up, opening the floor up to ask your opinion. Oh, one more thing. If we pay it off on November 1st of 2013, we will save $10,662.84 in interest. To me, that makes sense. We're never going to make that much money leaving that 800 grand in the bank. And whether or not we commit that back to surplus, that's not really a discussion that needs to happen in finance. That's a discussion that needs to happen in council. But what I'm asking you guys is, what do you think about this whole idea?
So we're gonna say, we're gonna basically take 30, how much per year? 30 grand a year?
$33,762 every year.
Every year.
But keep in mind, if we commit that to anything, we can commit between now and the end of our terms, but no longer. We can't commit future councils to anything.
We talked about that, Dave. I agree it's probably a good deal to pay it off, but I suggest putting that recommendation, at least put the money back in the surplus for the year and a half that you can do it as a council. I know you can't do it beyond that, but it makes sense to do it. I just want to see the money get spent somewhere else until we put as much back in the surplus as we can.
Anybody else?
What's the total that we have?
I'll make a comment. One thing is the roads, and we're looking for every dime, the Public Works Committee. Is there any way to restrict at least the amount of money back to roads through this term? It would be about 50,000. That's what we're about short.
That's not a decision that this group can make, but yeah,
It's a recommendation this group can make to the council.
Right. 132,000 change. And the loan is anticipated to be fully amortized on February 1st of 2018. So we're cutting several years off the life of the loan, and there is no prepayment penalty. We did check that out just to make sure that we weren't going to be paying interest that we shouldn't be paying.
How much is left, if I may ask a question, is left in reserve after this, Jim?
Depends on what you call reserve. I mean, from a cash perspective?
Yes.
Right now, we have $839,000 in the bank.
Okay.
That number will grow exponentially in the next 2 months because of the property tax. And then it'll shrink back to about this number again by this time next year.
Okay, so you've made it through, the city has made it through the 3 or 4 months when revenue is the lowest. The tax bills are out, other tax receipts are coming in. So even paying off, you'll still end up with a decent cash reserve to the same time next year. Cash-wise.
Depending on what you call decent. There are
Okay.
some auditors that say you need 6 months,
Uh-huh.
6 months of expenses in your reserve. We don't have anywhere near 6 months. We're gonna spend between 200 and 250 a month. So, you multiply that by 6, you're at least 1.2.
Yep.
Well, we're gonna be below that regardless of what we do. So, and I'd love to give you a number and say this is the right number that should be in reserve, but there is no such number.
No, I know. But as you said, in private firm, we would write the check and pay it off. If we had that much cash there, because there is no interest coming, there's nothing being made on the other side.
We're gonna make the interest by what we save.
Yeah.
$10,000 is what we end up making.
Yeah.
And there's virtually no volatility in the city. I mean, you don't have seasonality, you don't have big fluctuations on the revenue side, you don't have big fluctuations. If we have big fluctuations on the expense side, it will be roads. And that's the only thing that can fluctuate that much. So, I think it's a prudent thing to do. And I think council's gonna be, I don't, if we wanna make a recommendation on what to do with that money, I think we can do that. But again, that'll be council's, we'll make a recommendation to council, that decision will be made next Wednesday.
I think where the Public Works Committee comes in, and we've worked a 2-year budget, is we're just short that $25,000 to $40,000 of pushing that edge, of accomplishing a couple big nice things. We can get one big thing, but when we start getting into the smaller brackets, we've got to start picking. And when we worked out the 2-year budget, it came down to about 25 to 40,000, made the difference in that range.
I can tell you that if we put 25 to 40,000 into the road budget, you'll be short 25 or 40,000.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I'll find some. We'll find something else.
I'd love to say that'll solve our problem, but I
No.
don't think it will.
But like you said, yeah,
Well, we only have that for 2 years too. We only have that extra money for 2 years, for this year and next year.
Correct. And this year, it won't be a full year. I mean, it'll be much less than that.
Well, the other half of that is from a public works standpoint. You're gonna, hopefully, if council will approve it, you're gonna pick up almost, what was it, 39,000
yes.
Right.
from last year's budget that was restricted, unused, that was not in the budget, but is there and available.
It's already in this working figure. I'll word it that
You
way.
already put it in there.
There you go, Jim.
You can only spend that once, Pat, I'm just telling you. One time, not more than once. If we don't do anything at all, that money will simply come back into the operating fund and basically will end up in surplus at the end of the year. So if we do nothing, it's basically a recommendation that goes into surplus.
Because I can't,
It'll work.
I as the operator can't spend it. It's
No.
not in that budget, doesn't matter,
No,
in theory, because it's line itemed out. I mean, I guess I could spend it, but it's there to
Well, I guess
put
the
back
thing
in.
that the only thing that's holding me up on this is, I guess I look at paying that off, or is there other things, to put it in surplus, is there other things within the city that we would like to accomplish with that $130,000 to get this city back, I think, to where some of us or all of us would like it to be, that has been neglected for years. That's my only, that's my only alternative to this. If, can we get some things that have been let go for a while, take that money out and do it?
Such as?
Such as finishing off Rigney Park, since we started that project, doing some extra road work, looking at possibly a salt garage and getting rid of that monthly payment we're paying in Crescent Springs. Do we want to look at that possibility?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's with this Rigney Park? There's no signs to the park. I don't know anybody that even knows anything about it outside of what we've seen maybe in the paper or something. I mean, who uses it?
Well, a lot of people over in that part use it.
I think we've got
Well,
two
I
nice
don't say,
parks.
let me rephrase that. A lot of people would use it, they don't use it.
No one
because
uses it because it's
It's a
dump.
mess. I mean, if people want to go talk about it, I would suggest you go back, well, a little rough right now, but go back and look at it and see what it is. The bottom line is, for me, is the city owns it. If we own it, we take care of it. If we, I mean, I don't know what you do with it. The city chose in the 80s to accept that land from the builder. So it used to be a lake. Do you want the city to turn it back into a lake? You know, I mean, there's possibilities there. But if the city owns it, we need to take care of it. You know, I mean,
Can they
that,
sell it?
to me, is the bottom line. Sell it?
Yeah, so I was wondering, can they sell it?
I don't know who you'd sell it to.
Is it
Can't-
totally landlocked, or is there any way someone could get back in there with a driveway and build?
Well, you can't build on it because it's all natural springs.
Oh.
So, I mean, if it could have been built on, Ryan Homes or Henry Fisher Homes would have built on it. You can't build it.
It's constantly wet. There's also
You either make it a lake, but that's the
So
one
then,
thing. I know we're off
What
track.
can
We
you
need-
do
we
to
need to bring
spend?
it back.
But anyway, that would be my only
Drainage
thought
system,
with,
we're trying to do a drain.
if we got that extra money,
That's
what-
what it's been.
you know, do we
Well,
do
going
other
back to-
things? Do we do some beautification in the city that's been neglected? Do we do some other
Well,
things?
here's the thing I'm thinking of, Mary, and, you know, ideas floating. Yeah, you're using the reserve to pay off debt, but you still have equity here. So if the worst case scenario ever happened and you needed cash, you have an equity reserve here for some cash possibly.
Yes, that is.
You find a bank that'll make a loan on this property, I don't want anything to do with that bank.
Is that the same money that you had a month or so ago in council, the 140,000 or whatever to pay off the loan?
Yeah, it's the same. It's been proposed. It was proposed as an ordinance, but finance has never made a recommendation.
But the ordinance passed, right?
No, it didn't.
No.
It was a first reading.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And that's why I was kind of objecting to the first reading, because finance had never discussed it, and it seems like it'd be appropriate to be discussed here. And apparently, there's a lot of ideas about what to do with the money that we're going to say, but does anybody object to the concept of paying that loan off? And I understand what you're saying, and you'll voice that next Wednesday, right? Your concerns? Okay, well, if you do, you do it. If you decide not to, that's fine. But can we make a recommendation that we go ahead with this ordinance? Is that, without making a recommendation about alternate uses of the money or anything else? It's simply, from a financial perspective, does this make sense to you guys?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I want to see the money go back in surplus. I don't want to see it spent on something. So I know you can't make contingent upon that, but
I think you can.
in the ordinance, can you make contingent upon that?
think
That'd be
you
my
can.
vote. Not that I get a vote, but that's my committee back there.
Well, I'll just tell them that there's conflicting ideas about what to do with the money that we save. How about that? And
We
I don't
can
have
always
to-
go in surplus, and council can make a decision to pull it out of
That's it.
surplus and do something else with it.
Whether they use that
I
money or
mean,
the other money in surplus.
that's a council decision anyway. I think
Well-
it's just, do we want finance, does finance think it's the right move to go and pay it off?
Right.
Take the money, put it in surplus, and then council will have to decide from there on what to do with the money.
The way we budgeted this, we budgeted it by department. So in other words, administration is paying part of it, Public Works is paying part of it. So if we don't restrict the funds, then the mayor can spend those funds in those departments as he sees fit. So it doesn't truly roll over into surplus if we do this.
Unless I don't use it.
Pardon?
Unless I don't use it.
Correct. But you could use it, is all
In
I'm saying.
theory, I could.
Right.
I will commit to not using it. There's money in our budget unless there's a disaster. We don't need it. You know, that's, we can restrict it to do, if we have to. If that's what the council desires, but.
I think restricting it would be very messy, but, we could if we wanted to. So, but from a, conceptually, you guys okay with paying that loan off? Is that, okay? All right, we'll make a recommendation that we have no problem with the ordinance as written then. Okay, thank you. The other ordinance that was proposed was to increase, let me make sure I got this right. We currently have $21,000 budgeted for attorney's fees and the ordinance says that we will take that to $50,000. There's maybe some play in that number. And we need to bring a recommendation back to council about whether that is a prudent thing to do or not. And I'm going to withhold comment. So I'd like for you guys to say what you think.
Question was restricted to road funds, so that means that would be, the ordinance would remove that and put it back.
It wasn't restricted to roads. It was
Well,
put on the roads budget.
Just on the budget.
It
Okay.
was not restricted.
What is this money needed for?
When the budget was passed, we pulled out attorney's fees as a separate line item, and the $21,000 that was budgeted is reflective of our previous retainer fee of $1,750 a month. That's what we put in there. Since that time, we have requested and received detailed information about what is in the attorneys, what we've spent on attorneys, okay? So we are now getting that. Unfortunately, because we don't have September, I can't really tie this back to anything. It won't mean anything to give it out. But the whole point is, at least we can see what it is now and question specifically the mayor about these line items. What the heck are we spending this on? So we do have more information than we had before, which was the intent of the $21,000 restriction. So what this committee needs to do is say, do we recommend that you adopt the ordinance? Do you recommend that we modify the ordinance? Do we recommend that we defeat the ordinance? Because it's a budget ordinance. The only reason I'm bringing it to finance.
You still don't have an idea how much we need per month for attorney's fees just on a regular basis?
It varies a lot. And I don't know if you want to try to answer that, Mike?
Yeah, it's a moving target, to be quite honest with you. I expect them to be going down. I think Jim and I have talked several times. He's pretty passionate about trying to make sure that we're figuring out how to reduce attorney's fees, because it's been that way for how many years, Jim? Long way too many. I mean, not just this year or any other year, but just one of the things that's really going to help is, for a good example, would be the code enforcement. Last year, if I have this right, I'll get this. No, it wasn't. We spent $21,000. I got my